time passed quickly in the territory. Although Roderick and Ophelia did not visit them often and had brought most of their employees to the capital mansion, there were not many people left in the mansion, but it was still clean and tidy. There, Isla spent her time learning fencing and horsemanship with Roderick, as always, and watching him perform his duties as lord. And together with his uncle, Isidore Hailing, he visited the magical ruins in the snowy mountains, where his mother had arrived as a researcher and participated in the excavations. Of course, since Isla was a magic layman, she didn't quite understand what was going on, but the sight of the softly glowing magic stone floating in the air was still very beautiful. Thus the long and harsh winter of the north passed and spring arrived. The thick ice that seemed indestructible began to melt, and the once white port began to show off its colors. Isla boarded a large ship to return to the capital, where her mother and younger brother were waiting for her. He had been on ships before, traveling abroad, but this time it felt different. It was nice to see the horizon stretch infinitely with nothing to catch your attention, but it was also a unique experience. To follow the river and see the landscape change every moment. And his mind was also very calm. Back then, it had only recently become apparent that he was under a curse, so his heart had been heavy, but now he was free of it. Furthermore, there was no one to take care of her except Laura, and even Laura suffered from dizziness, so no one bothered her. So naturally, he felt freer than ever. "You're here again." As Isla leaned on the deck railing, looking toward the riverbank, Roderick spoke from behind. He was always on deck when he had a moment. "Oh, father, are you here? Look, the sunset is so beautiful." Isla smiled brightly and pointed to the western sky where the sun was setting. Following her finger, a picturesque scene unfolded before her, with fluffy white clouds suspended above an orange-tinged sky. And there, a round, bright sun rose before her. It was too dazzling to look at directly, but its warm glow thrilled Isla. Because it reminded him of someone's loving gaze. "It's really nice." Roderick gently stroked his daughter's head and suddenly looked around with a serious expression. The absence of anyone else seemed ideal for a private conversation with his daughter. "Your mother and I have given you permission, so now that you're back, the real work will begin." "Your plan to capture him?" "Yes, father." She was momentarily absorbed in the beautiful landscape, but her father's words brought her back to reality with a solemn expression on her face. Now that the risk of losing her life to the curse was gone, she decided not to sit back and watch. "It seems like Laura and that guy have been in touch a lot lately." "I don't know the details, but, did he say something to you?" "Oh, I think he told him about my illness. I was worried about my health." To her father's question, Isla responded with a bitter smile. He knew Byron's concern was a complaint disguised as concern. For them, they had always treated her like this. He was nothing more than an instrument of revenge, and he was not even allowed to suffer until he had accomplished it. Although he treated her well after she fell ill, it was only to help her recover quickly and take advantage of her. Byron always made her feel guilty for being sick, so she couldn't show it. "I see." Roderick nodded. Then he stared at his daughter's face, as if he knew she had more to say. But Isla didn't dare speak. His lips weren't moving at all. As she left Byron and headed to Scott and Debbie's cabin, Byron's words kept bothering her. That was what he told him to do before he killed Roderick. Although there had been no further news from Laura, she had the nagging feeling that she would soon receive the order to kill Noah. "It's not even safe, so I don't want to bother you by mentioning Noah." Isla bit her lip nervously. Of course, if he received the order, he would speak then, but there was no need to speak before it was given. "I can do it, father. Don't worry." So he had no choice but to reassure his father with this nonsense. "Yes, I trust you, my daughter," Roderick said with a slight smile. Isla had heard the same words from Byron countless times, but their resonance was as different as heaven and earth. "Isla." Ophelia welcomed her daughter's return with open arms. Roderick had been called to the palace on business upon arriving in Venator, leaving Isla and Isidoro to return home first. "Mother!" Isla ran straight into Ophelia's arms and hugged her tightly. As always, his arms smelled sweet. While Ophelia and Isla greeted each other warmly, Isidore greeted his daughters. "Welcome, father. Is there something as a gift for me?" "Rachel, you seem to be more interested in gifts than your father." "Sure, I bought you some." Isla, who was in her mother's arms, found herself laughing at the conversation without realizing it. And as Isla looked around with a smile, she ran into someone she was especially happy to see, someone she hadn't expected to see there. It was his younger brother, Noah, who was in his babysitter's arms. "Noah, come here. You have to say hello to your sister." Ophelia took Noah from his babysitter and held him in her arms, presenting him to Isla. It was impossible to greet him properly, as he was still a small child and could not speak. Noah, who seemed to sympathize with his sister, who took after their mother, waved his arms in Ophelia's embrace. He seemed eager to get closer to Isla. "Noah looks like he wants to hug you. Do you want to hug him? All right?" At Ophelia's suggestion, Isla accepted Noah, her face flushed with joy. He had expected it to be light, considering his small size, but it felt surprisingly burly. Noah babbled incomprehensibly, his small hands reaching for Isla's face. He seemed to want to touch her cheeks, her nose, her lips. Noah, who had been moving his little fingers, grabbed a handful of Isla's hair and laughed. "But he doesn't pull your hair just because you're his older sister. He always pulls my hair." "Noah pulls Mom's hair?" At Ophelia's words, Isla's eyes widened. "It's the age when you have to put everything you have on hand in your mouth. All babies do it at this age. But miraculously, he doesn't pull your hair." The babysitter, who was laughing and saying that all children grow up like that, took Noah from Isla's arms and hugged him. "Even so, Master Noah behaves quite well. I don't know how much worse it will be for other babies." "I see. All children went through that phase. Maybe she also pulled her parents' hair when she was little." The idea embarrassed her strangely. "You must be tired, so go in quickly and rest." At Ophelia's words, Isidore, already tired, entered the mansion with his daughters. And Ela too. He entered his room with Laura, who seemed somewhat upset. A landscape that had become almost familiar welcomed her. "What's wrong, Laura?" Ela asked, sitting comfortably in her chair, with a sullen expression on her face, as if she had something to say. Ela already guessed the reason, because it was the expression he wore every time he was friendly to Noah, but she pretended not to know and asked, "You seem to be too absorbed in the princess game, but you must not forget it. This is your true duty as a young lady. Playing at being a princess." Laura's expression made her laugh, but Isla tried to suppress her emotions and replied, "I haven't forgotten." How could I forget it? No matter how much peace of mind she felt, she couldn't forget what Byron had done to her. "Oh really? Judging by how you've been acting lately, it seems like you've forgotten everything. You would rather live comfortably in this house, pretending to be a princess. Wear nice clothes, eat delicious food and sleep in a comfortable bed. You probably don't care about the difficulties that the master, who loved you so much, has to endure wandering the cold streets." Laura spoke in a rude and accusatory tone. She wasn't usually polite to Isla, but today she was particularly harsh. It was enough to make Isla wonder why he was acting like this. She had been playing the role of the obedient lady that Laura wanted, but she was about to lose her temper and get angry. "Why do you say that?" "No, there's no way I would do that." And when Isla suddenly lost her temper, Laura opened her mouth with a wry smile, as if she had been waiting for her. "Then show your unbreakable heart, miss." "Try what? How?" "Show my feelings?" What do you mean? Understanding what Laura was saying, Isla felt a shock and asked in a slightly trembling voice, "For your father, kill Noah Weishafen. As soon as possible." "It is my master's order," Laura said in a somber voice.